Hello everyone, this is Peter Chen. Welcome to my essay project, The Problem with Nage. Today, we'll be looking at a couple of viral internet memes and news stories related to Chinese word Nage that might seem offensive in Western context. By analyzing these through the lens of critical race theory, we will uncover the deeper societal and cultural dynamics at play. So let's dive into our first video.
Hold on! Hold on! Hold on! Hold on! Hey, hey!
So this video is one of the most viral Chinese racist memes out there on the internet. It's a viral clip where a YouTube influencer IShowSpeed reacting to the Chinese music video 阳光彩虹小白马, which means sunshine rainbow little white horse. He seems pretty into the song until he heard the word 那个, which in his perception sounded like a racial slur in English. This meme touches upon several aspects related to critical race theory. We are talking about this mostly because a lot of people do think this song to be racist, or it is racist behavior to sing, play, or perform that song in the US. First, language, context, and perception. Critical race theory emphasizes the importance of context and perspective in understanding racial issues. The reaction of IShowSpeed is influenced by his culture and linguistic background. The word 那个 in Mandarin Chinese means that or that one. In the song, the word is used multiple times to say you are my that one means that only one sunshine rainbow little white horse. It's a love song and the lyrics is an expression of affection. However, to someone unfamiliar with the language, and particularly within the context of heightened awareness of racial issues in the United States, it might sound offensive. The misunderstanding highlights the significance of context and the diverse ways language is interpreted across cultures. Second, cross-culture understanding and sensitivity. The incident underscores the need for cross-cultural sensitivity and awareness. Critical race theory often discusses how dominant culture, narratives, and perceptions can lead to misunderstanding or reinforce stereotypes. An important takeaway from such incidents is the need for greater cross-cultural dialogue and understanding to avoid misinterpretation that could lead to offense. 3. Globalization and the spread of media. In an increasingly interconnected world, content created in one culture context can be rapidly disassembled and consumed globally. This raises questions about how local culture expressions are received and interpreted internationally. Critical race theory might examine how globalization can lead to new forms of racial misunderstanding or tension, as cultural nuances may be lost or misinterpreted when they cross borders. If you think the video you just watched is just a meme and it's funny, that's great. But what we are going to take a look next is within the similar context, but a lot more serious.
And this is culturally specific. So based on your native language, like in China, the common word is that. So in China, it might be nega. So there's different words that you'll hear in different countries, but they're vocal disfluencies. It's saying that,
So this video got him fired within the very same week. Professor Greg Patton of USC School of Business was teaching a communication class via Zoom, and this video is the recording of that online Zoom class. It shows Professor Patton discussing the use of pauses while speaking and giving an example of how Chinese speakers use filler words. The following day, many complaints were filed to the school administration, saying the term sounded like the N-word and the pattern had offended all the black members of the class. Here are some other critics. In the letter, it says the phrase clearly and precisely before instruction is always identified as a phonetic and homonym racial term and should be carefully used, especially in the context of speaking Chinese within the social context of the United States. According to the letter, which accused Professor Payton of negligence, the way we heard it in the class was indicative of a much more hurtful word with tremendous implications for black community. And the letter also includes Professor Greg Patton repeated several times a Chinese word that sounds very similar to a veiled racial slur in English. Understandably, these caused great pain and upset among students, and for that I am deeply sorry. It is simply unacceptable for faculties to use words in class that can marginalize, hurt, and harm the psychological safety of our students. We must and we will do better. This incident actually caused a lot more controversy than I thought it would, and Professor Greg Patton was temporarily suspended that week, but later on resumed to his regular teaching activities, but in other courses. So, according to critical race theory, promoting race and cultural diversity amidst misunderstanding. The challenge of introducing race and cultural diversity in educational setting, especially when it leads to misunderstandings and severe consequences like a job loss, is a critical issue. In this case, the professor's intention was to educate about communication styles in different cultures, a critical aspect in a state like California with a significant Asian population, actually almost 17%. Critical race theory can help us understand the tension that arises when attempts to educate about cultural differences and perceived as offensive or insensitivity. This situation underscores the need for a more nuanced approach to cultural diversity education. It is important to create an environment where cultural differences are not only taught but also discussed openly, with a focus on understanding and empathy. Educators and institutions must navigate the fine line between cultural education and the potential for misinterpretation, ensuring that such lessons are framed and delivered in a way that respects all culture and racial sensibilities. Second, the role of identity and perception and reaction. Considering the hypothetical scenario where the educator belongs to a different racial or ethnic background, such as a black man or an Asian man, or an Asian man who speaks English with a heavy accent like I am, it raises important questions about how racial identity influences the perception and reaction to such incidents. Critical race theory suggests that our reaction to language and behavior are often influenced by racial and cultural identities of both the speaker and the audience. If Professor Payton were in a different race, the reaction might have varied, highlighting the complexity of racial dynamic in educational setting. The concept of reverse racism or discrimination against the dominant racial group is also a continuous topic within critical race theory. Some argue that reverse racism exists in situations where individuals from dominant racial group faces discrimination, while others argue that racism by definition involves systematic power dynamic that favor dominant racial groups. In both scenarios, critical race theory encourages a critical examination of how race and power dynamics play out in educational and professional settings. It challenges us to consider how racial and cultural biases, whether conscious or unconscious, influence our perception and reaction to language and behavior. These cases highlight the need for ongoing dialogue and education around cultural sensitivity and racial awareness, ensuring that diversity and inclusion efforts genuinely foster understanding and respect for all cultural backgrounds.
What do you want me to do? Ask them?
Okay, well then here's another idea, okay? If we want to teach languages and culture without anyone getting offended, okay, let's just have a class for white kids, a class for black kids, and a class for Asian kids, okay? And all the classes can be separate, but equal, obviously, and that way no one will get offended.
Ronnie, I think you just invented segregation.
Oh.
Exactly. If people get offended all the time without thinking about the diverse and different background, and no matter if the culture is from a continent that is thousands of miles away with completely different history, we are reversing the educational and media segregation. By analyzing the incidents we talked about today through the lens of critical race theory, we can gain deeper insight into the complexity of race, language, and culture education in a globalized and diverse society. It is also underscores the importance of thoughtful and sensitivity approach to teaching about cultural differences, emphasizing the need for open dialogue and understanding.